This happened a few months ago. I was 35 and had just moved to this small town in Appalachia. I left my corporate job behind, hoping to recharge my batteries with some hiking and photography. The town felt peaceful, with its log cabins and old stone buildings. The locals greeted me warmly. They seemed to have a strong bond with the land. I often explored the winding backroads. They had a strange beauty and I felt drawn to them. One afternoon I wandered further than usual. The sun filtered through the trees, casting long shadows. I spotted an old cabin off the path. Its windows were broken and the door hung wide open. I shouldn't have gone inside, but curiosity got the better of me. When I stepped over the threshold, I felt a chill in the air. The inside was dim and dusty. The floor creaked beneath my feet. I noticed faded photographs tacked to the walls. They showed people from the town, but something was off. Their poses were unsettling and their eyes seemed to follow me. I couldn't shake the feeling that they were watching me. I took a few pictures, my heart racing, but I didn't linger too long. Over the next few days I hiked nearby trails. I kept hearing these muffled voices. At first I thought I was just imagining things, but it happened too often. Each time I got closer to the cabin, I felt like someone was watching me. When I met an old woman in town, she looked at me strangely when I mentioned the cabin. She told me to avoid the woods after dark. Her voice was low. "There's a history there," she said, her eyes wide. I didn't press her for details, but it made me uneasy. I began to wonder about the photographs. Who were those people? Had they vanished? My mind raced. Did I want to know what happened? I considered going back to the cabin at night, fueled by curiosity and a strange pull. The next evening, I stood at the cabin's door again, the light fading around me. I could hear those muffled voices clearer now. My heart pounded in my chest. I pushed the door open, stepping inside, the dark swallowing me whole. Then something shifted behind me. I turned, startled. There was a figure standing just inside the door watching me. I was scared, but I couldn't move. I wanted to scream, but the air felt cold. The figure didn't say anything. Just stared. I wasn't sure what to do next. Did I wish I had turned back? Then that figure asked me, "Why are you here?" I blinked, trying to focus. My heart sank as I realized there was no one else around. What had I just walked into? I glanced around. The photographs on the wall seemed to shift in the flickering light of my phone. The voices grew louder, echoing off the walls. I was trapped, and the feeling of being watched intensified. I took a step back, but the door closed behind me with a heavy thud. I tried to push it open, but it wouldn't budge. The figure remained motionless, its eyes boring into mine. What was happening? I needed to escape, but it felt like the shadows were closing in and the cabin seemed alive. What was in those photographs? And why was I drawn to this place? I didn't know the answers. All I knew was that I wanted to leave. But that figure wouldn't let me. Would I ever find my way out? The air around me thickened as I faced the figure. It was too quiet. The voices had faded, replaced by an unsettling silence that wrapped around us. I took a deep breath, trying to think straight. I was just exploring. I stammered, the words barely escaping my lips. The figure moved slightly, its head tilting. "Exploring," it repeated, the word hanging in the air like a warning. I wanted to bolt for the door, but my feet felt glued to the ground. I could see now that the figure was a woman, her features pale and sharp, like the edges of a forgotten memory. "Do you know what this place is?" she asked, her voice low and raspy. I shook my head, something about her gaze causing a chill to run through me. "It's not just a cabin, it's tied to the land, to the people." She glanced at the photographs, and for a moment, I followed her gaze. Each face seemed trapped in time, and I wondered about their stories. Had they known the truth? Or had they ended up like me, lost? Suddenly I felt a pull at my back. I turned, scanning the walls, searching for the escape I desperately needed. As I did, I noticed something new. A door set in the far wall, almost hidden behind layers of dust. My pulse quickened. Could it be another exit? I shouldn't be here, I whispered, anxiety creeping in. The woman stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. You don't understand. Before I could respond, a sudden noise erupted outside, breaking the tension. It sounded like thunder, loud and rumbling, but there was no storm. What was that? I asked, panic rising. That's the sound of them. They don't like visitors. Who is she talking about? I glanced back at her, then at the door again. Could I make a run for it? Just then, the memories in the photograph seemed to swirl around me, every pair of eyes watching with a chilling intensity. A deep instinct told me to leave. In a quick burst of courage, I lunged for the door, desperation fueling my movements. But her hand shot out, gripping my wrist with surprising strength. You can't leave. Not like this. Let me go, I shouted, feeling the weight of her desperation. I don't want anything to do with this place. But her grip only tightened. You need to know, she insisted, her voice rising slightly. You're a part of it now. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. I struggled against her hold, the fear swarming inside me. My heart raced. Just as I thought I might break free, a low growl filled the cabin, vibrating through the walls. I froze. Do you hear that? I whispered, terror clawing at my throat. Yes, she said, her voice dropping to a near whisper. They're hungry. I tore away from her grasp, racing toward the door. This time, I didn't hesitate. With all my strength, I pushed against it. It resisted but then gave way, slamming against the wall. The cold night air hit me like a wave as I stumbled out. But where was I? Everything looked different in the dark. Panic surged again, and as I turned to run, I heard the voices rise behind me, a chorus of whispers I could not understand. I ran deeper into the woods, branches clawing at my clothes. I needed to get away. I didn't know where those echoes called from, but one thing became clear. The cabin wasn't done with me yet. That figure would follow, and I would have to confront the truth of what I had stumbled into, whether I wanted to or not. I didn't stop running. My lungs burned, but I pushed harder, the darkness swallowing me whole. The whispers behind me grew louder, merging into something almost like laughter, taunting me. It felt like a pursuit, a game I hadn't signed up for. Twisting and turning, I tried to navigate through the trees, but the shadows played tricks on my mind. Every rustle sounded like footsteps. Every snap of a twig felt like a warning. I stumbled, catching myself just before crashing into the ground. Then a flash of light cut through the chaos. I squinted, trying to make sense of it. A distant glow flickered between the trees. My instincts screamed to keep moving, but curiosity tugged harder. Was it a way out, or another trap? As I approached the source, stepping cautiously through the underbrush, I caught sight of starlight reflected on something metallic. A circular object, nearly half buried in the dirt. I knelt down to get a better look. It was a compass, its needle spinning wildly, disoriented. I glanced back toward the cabin, the oppressive air still lingering in my memory. There was no going back. My hands trembled as I picked up the compass, a strange sense of urgency flowing through me. Suddenly, a chill washed over me, scattering any warmth the flickering light might have offered. I stood up quickly, looking around. The whispers had vanished, replaced by an eerie silence. But something felt deeply wrong. I could sense eyes upon me. That's when I saw her. The woman from the cabin stood on the edge of the clearing, half hidden in shadow, her eyes glinting like moons in the dark. Panic ignited again, and I backed away slowly. You shouldn't be here, I shouted, not sounding nearly as brave as I wanted. I warned you, she said, her voice steady and calm. You have to choose. Choose what? Choose to leave this place or to accept your fate. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. What do you mean, my fate? The land chooses. The echoes know your name, she said, stepping closer, her face illuminated by an unseen light. They are waiting. My instincts kicked in. I turned to run again, but the compass slipped from my fingers, skidding across the ground. I couldn't leave it behind, it was a sign. I dashed after it, but as I reached for the compass, a low growl resonated through the trees, a guttural noise that spoke of predatory hunger. A flash of movement spurred me back into action. I knew I had seconds. I had to figure out a way to escape this madness. But as I darted away from her, I felt something tugging at my clothes, an unseen force pulling me back toward the woman. I could hear her whispering, words that turned into a chant, wrapping around me like vines. "Don't go, don't go." Her voice slithered through the air, and then the ground shifted beneath me. I stumbled, and everything went dark. I hit the ground hard, the forest floor consuming me. The words of the woman faded, but now I was faced with a shiver of something deeper. What awaited me at the heart of this darkness? I felt weightless for a moment, caught in a void where sound and light faded together. Then, as if pulled from a deep sleep, I gasped and opened my eyes. I lay flat on my back, the coolness of the earth grounding me. Tall grass brushed against my skin. I was in a clearing, but it was different than before. No whispers, no laughter. Just silence, heavy and thick. Panic bubbled in my chest as I pushed myself up. The compass was gone, and when I glanced around for it, I saw uneven ground and strange stone formations jutting out from the earth like ancient tombstones. They looked alive, breathing in and out with the wind. I rubbed my eyes trying to dispel the confusion, but the sight only grew more unsettling. I got to my feet, heart pounding, and searched for a sign of the woman or any way out. That's when I noticed a faint light flickering in the distance, a soft glow pulsing like a heartbeat. It could be hope, or it could lead me right into the jaws of whatever had chased me here. Before I could think twice, I moved toward the light. Each step felt like walking through syrup, as if the air thickened with every breath I took. My instincts screamed that I should turn back, that the darkness was not finished with me yet. But curiosity and fear drove me forward. As I approached, the light revealed itself to be coming from a small, strange shrine made of twisted branches and stones. A fire burned in its center, illuminating the faces carved into the wood, faces that looked eerily familiar. I stopped, unease creeping up my spine. The faces seemed to flicker with life, watching me, judging me. "Welcome," a voice echoed from the shadows. A figure stepped out from behind the shrine, an old man with gray hair and piercing blue eyes, eyes that seemed to see into my very soul. "You've come to make a choice," he said, his tone oddly calm. My throat felt dry. "What choice?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "The mountain knows your heart. It knows your desires, your fears. Will you embrace it, or will you flee?" Flee? My mind raced. Was this part of the game the woman had mentioned? What happens if I stay? "The land will claim you," he replied. "But it will also reveal the truth. You cannot run from what you are, but you can choose to learn from it." As he spoke, the fire flickered wildly, casting shadows that danced around us. Images flashed in my mind, memories from my past, fragments that I thought were buried. I saw moments of fear, loss, and regret. They swirled like a storm inside me. "Make your choice," the old man urged, his voice now taking on a more urgent tone. "Before the shadows find you again." In that moment, I felt the weight of the darkness creeping back, wrapping around my ankles like cold tendrils. The ground beneath me started to tremble, and I realized the shadows were not just out there. They were part of me. I had to decide. Would I embrace the chaos and confront my fears? Or would I turn my back, hoping to escape them once again? Then came a loud crack, a splitting sound that resonated through the air. I felt the ground separating, the earth opening up before me, and I heard her voice, soft, coaxing, echoing in my mind. "Don't go, don't go." The ground shuddered again, and I knew I had only seconds left. What would I choose? My heart raced as the ground continued to quake beneath my feet. The shadows were closing in, their dark shapes swirling and reaching for me. I could feel their chill, like a cold breath on my neck. "What do I do?" I murmured, caught in a struggle between fight and flight. The old man stepped closer, his eyes deep and calm. Embrace it, he urged. Face them and find your truth. Before I could respond, a rush of cold wind swept through the clearing, snuffing the fire's light for a moment. In the darkness, I felt the weight of the past pressing down on me, a haunting tide. Then everything rushed back, the faces carved into the shrine, the whispers I had heard before, and all those memories. I made my choice. I had to confront what was hunting me. I choose to stay, I declared, my voice trembling but determined. As soon as the words left my lips, the ground let out a deafening roar, and the earth gaped open wider. The shadows recoiled, swirling violently before condensing into a figure, a woman, her face hidden beneath a tangle of shadows. You shouldn't have come here, she whispered, a voice I recognized. It was hers, the woman from my dreams, the one who had led me to this moment. Why? I shouted. Why did you bring me here? Because you need to remember, she replied, lifting her head slightly. Her features remained obscured, but I could see the pain etched into her silhouette. You cannot flee from the truth. You cannot escape your choices. The ground beneath me cracked again, and a rumble echoed deep within the mountain. I steadied myself, focusing on her voice. What truth? What choices? With each word, the light from the shrine flickered back to life, illuminating the shrine's faces more vividly than before. They were etched with expressions of sorrow, regret, and hope, and for a heartbeat, I felt a strange connection to them. They are you, she said, gesturing to the faces. Every decision, every regret, every moment. The walls of the clearing began to pulse, and I realized the stones were part of something larger, something alive. My heartbeat quickened, and dread washed over me. What happens if I don't remember? If I refuse to see? Then you will remain trapped here, only shadows of yourself. The woman's voice cracked, hinting at her own pain. You have to wake up. You can change your path. The shadows surged forward, and I felt their negativity pressing in on me. They were heavy, suffocating. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I could feel the memories weaving through me, dragging me into their depths. I knew I was out of time. Then I opened my eyes, plunging into the abyss of my own choices. I saw moments I wished to forget, friends lost, dreams abandoned. And within that darkness, under the weight of fear, I found one flicker of light. Hope. I remember, I whispered as the figures in the shrine began to nod in approval. I want to change. A roar echoed from the mountain, shaking the very ground. The darkness screamed in response. With a newfound determination, I held on to that flicker of hope as the shadows lunged at me. Shadows that once felt impenetrable were now beginning to dissipate. The mountain's hollow echo grew louder, vibrating with both fear and promise. But as I confronted the abyss, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The cracks in the ground started to close, but not without revealing something terrifying beneath. A deeper darkness surged forth, and I wasn't sure if I was strong enough to face it. Then came the chilling whisper once more, echoing through the clearing. You think you've won. There's much more to uncover. And all around me, the world began to shift once again. The shadows swirled as the ground shuddered beneath my feet. But this time I felt a strange connection to the woman before me. I met her gaze, searching for answers in the depths of her obscured face. What else do I need to uncover? I urged her, desperate to grasp anything that could guide me. She took a step forward, her form shimmering like smoke. Beyond this place, there are truths that echo through your very being. Each choice you've made has left a mark, a shadow that clings to you. The air thickened, pressing down on me. I could feel the weight of every regret wrapped around my soul, tugging me back. But I can change. I want to, I shouted, and the words felt fragile as soon as they left my mouth. You can, she said, her tone dipping into something softer. But first you must confront the hidden memories. The truth lies in the darkness you avoid. I took a shaky breath, recalling the sharp edges of those memories. Would confronting them only lead me deeper into despair? Doubt crept in like a chill on the wind, but I wasn't ready to turn back now. As I looked back, the shadows shifted again, crawling away from the light of the shrine as though they were afraid. Perhaps this was it, the moment of reckoning. I stepped forward, the ghosts of my past pulling at me. Suddenly the ground cracked open once more and out spilled a thick swirling mist darker than night. A figure began to take shape within it. A man, his face barely discernible, but I could feel an unsettling familiarity. I couldn't look away. "You thought you could escape?" His voice was low, filled with a darkness that resonated deep within me. Every part of me wanted to run. "You don't recognize me?" "I don't want to," I shouted back, denying the fear clawing at my resolve. "Yes, you do," he snarled, stepping closer. As he drew from the mist, recognition sparked in my mind, someone from my past, someone I had hurt but never confronted. "You left me behind just like all the others." My heart dropped. "I didn't mean to," I protested, but my voice felt weak, small against his anger. "It's too late for excuses," he sneered. "You've buried this, but I will drag it out of you." The looming mist coiled around me and I felt the cold grip of guilt overtake my limbs. I remembered those choices, how I had chosen my path at the expense of others. Would I ever be free from the shadows? "Face him," the shadow woman urged, her voice breaking through the suffocating haze. "Face the truth." But the man continued to advance and doubts flared within me. "What if I can't?" I stammered, fear consuming my courage. Then a flicker from the shrine caught my eye, the faces sparkling with determination. I wondered if that was the change, the hope I had embraced earlier. In that moment, I realized I had to confront him. I had to confront the darkness. "I'm ready to see it all," I declared, my voice growing stronger. "Even if it hurts." The figure hesitated, surprise flickering across his face. The shadows wavered, losing their strength momentarily. Then quietly, the ground beneath us began to tremble once more. And I knew this was only the beginning. As the fog thickened again, taking form, I steadied my breath, preparing for the truth I needed to uncover. But then, out of the haze, I saw something else, a whispering presence lurking just beyond my reach. And before I could make sense of it, everything darkened once more, plunging me into an unknown threat. What lay ahead remained a mystery, but I understood one thing. This fight was far from over. The mist closed in around me, thick and suffocating. I couldn't see anything beyond the swirling gray. Anxiety wrapped around my throat like a vice, but I couldn't let fear take hold. I focused on the shadow of the man, who now stood still, as if he were waiting for something. "What do you want from me?" I asked, my voice trembling. The words hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty. He stepped closer again, his features sharpening into focus. "I want you to remember. You can't escape it. You have to face the choices you made." His voice dripped with bitterness, each word slicing through the mist. Something within me stirred, a memory just out of reach. I felt the ground vibrating beneath my feet, echoing the turmoil inside me. "I don't remember everything," I admitted, my breath shallow. "Maybe that's for the best." "Is it?" he challenged. "You think forgetting makes it disappear? What about the people you left behind?" A part of me cringed at his words. I had buried so much, hoping to protect myself from the pain, but I knew now that the past would always find a way to surface. "I can't go back," I said firmly, trying to muster confidence. "I can only move forward." "Then confront it," he urged, the shadows creeping around him like tendrils. "But be warned, the truth may be more painful than you expect." I tried to steady my breathing. Confronting the truth sounded terrifying, but I couldn't turn away. I had to face the person I was, and the choices that had led me here. Suddenly, the shrine flickered back into view. The faces within it glowed brighter, urging me to remember. And that's when it hit me. A flash of an old friend, someone I had hurt. The laughter we shared once turned to silence, regret now hanging between us like a stone. I froze, realizing the weight of that loss. "Alex," I whispered, pain blooming in my chest. The man's expression softened, a hint of recognition in his eyes. "Can you face him? Can you face what you did?" Before I could respond, the ground rumbled again, a warning tremor beneath me. I turned, scanning the thick haze, and that's when I saw something moving just beyond the shadows. A second figure emerged, more menacing than the first. Panic rushed through me, my heart racing. Who were they? "What is happening?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. In response, the original figure stepped back, the shadows receding like a tide. "You must choose," he said, pointing toward the encroaching figure. "Confront one, or do nothing, and let them consume you both." Terror shot through me. I felt trapped, with choices looming like cliffs. I wished I could run away, but there was nowhere to go. "I can't do this," I cried out, torn between the past and the unknown threat. "Remember," the man said, his voice now softer but insistent, "the truth sets you free, but only if you dare to face it." Just then the second figure lunged from the mist. I flinched, forcing myself to react. I had to stand my ground, now or never. As shadows swirled, I stepped forward, ready to confront both the past and the danger before me. What choice would I make, and at what cost? The fog enveloped us once more, and for a brief heartbeat everything went dark again. But this time I didn't feel alone. I could still hear the whispers of the shrine urging me forward. Would I find the light I needed, or would I plunge further into the shadows? The darkness closed in, wrapping around me like a shroud. My heart pounded in my chest, and I felt the air shift as the second figure approached. They moved with a predatory grace, their intentions smothered by the mist. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being hunted. I forced myself to stand tall, trying to merge the fragments of courage I held. "Who are you?" I shouted, my voice cutting through the gloom, trembling, yet defiant. The figure paused just a moment and then stepped into the faint light that surrounded the shrine. My breath caught in my throat. The face that emerged was one I recognized all too well. It was an older version of myself, twisted with anger and regret. "Do you really want to know?" the doppelganger asked, a chilling smile spreading across their lips. "I am the choices you ran from, the pain you refused to face." "No, you're not me," I protested, shaking my head. "You can't be. I'm not like that anymore." The figure laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the walls of fog. "You think you've changed? You think you can just forget what you did? No, you carry me with you always." I struggled to breathe. His words felt like a weight pressing down on my chest, but deep down I knew there was truth in them. I had tried to suppress my past, but it rose up like a tide, relentless and merciless. "Then what do I have to do?" I cried, nearly pleading. What do you want from me?" The figure stepped even closer, their expression morphing into something more serious. "You need to confront your demons, face the consequences. Otherwise you'll be lost to the shadows that will never let you go." I glanced back at the first man, the one who had urged me to remember. He stood still, watching with an unreadable expression, the weight of his gaze pressed down on me, urging me to make a decision. "Do I have to fight you?" I asked, the thought terrifying yet oddly liberating. "You can fight," the doppelganger replied, "or you can choose to understand why you became me in the first place." Suddenly, memories crashed over me, laughter shared, promises broken, and moments wasted. I remembered Alex, our friendship splintering under the weight of my selfish choices. The truth felt like glass shards in my heart. "I won't let you win," I whispered, the determination rising within me. "I won't let you take control." The figure sneered. "Control? You've never had it. Not over me, not over your past." With that, the mist roared around us, swirling violently. I felt its suffocating grip tighten again, as if the shadows themselves were coming to life. I stepped backward, feeling the ground tilt beneath me, but I couldn't retreat now. I wouldn't let the dark consume me. I focused on the faces in the shrine again. Their expressions were vivid, pleading. "I'm ready," I said, my voice steadying. "I want to face the truth, As soon as I spoke those words, the shadows receded momentarily, revealing a path through the fog. It shimmered with a light that felt warm and inviting. But it also felt like a trap, an invitation that could lead to something devastating. "Make your choice," my doppelganger taunted as the ground beneath me trembled. "Walk towards the light and confront your truth, or stay lost in the haze, forever haunted by me." I took a deep breath, the air thick with tension. The choice loomed ahead, and as I felt the shadows shift around me, I knew I had to act. There was only one way to escape the darkness, and it was time to find out what awaited me at the end of this treacherous path. I stepped forward, drawn towards the light, feeling the warmth seep into my bones. Each step felt like a small rebellion against the chill that clung to me like a second skin. I had no idea what lay ahead, but there was a flicker of hope buried under the weight of doubt. As I neared the light, the mist began to shift again, swirling at my feet like a living thing. I could hear whispers now, soft, broken voices that seemed to echo my fears and regrets. They wrapped around my mind, tempting me to turn back to the safety of the darkness. "Turn away," one voice coaxed, sounding familiar and cruel. "You don't need this. You don't want to face the pain." I shook my head, fighting back the urge to listen. "I have to do this," I whispered to myself. "I need to find out who I am without the shadows." With one final breath, I stepped into the light. It enveloped me in a brilliant glow, and for a heartbeat, I felt weightless. Suddenly, I was standing in a clearing surrounded by trees, their branches swaying gently as if welcoming me home. The air smelled fresh, tinged with the scent of pine and earth, but something felt off. The beauty of the scene contrasted sharply with the turmoil inside me. I scanned my surroundings, searching for a sign of what was next, and that's when I saw it. A figure lay on the ground, motionless. My breath caught in my throat as I drew closer. It was a younger version of myself. Eyes shut, face peaceful, but covered in dirt and leaves. Panic surged through me. Why was I here? What did this mean? I knelt beside my younger self, memories flooding back. This was the point in my life when everything started to go wrong. The fear of failure, the hate I directed at myself, all manifesting in this one moment, forgotten beneath the weight of regret. Tears welled in my eyes. "I'm so sorry," I whispered, genuinely feeling the depth of that sorrow. I didn't mean for it to end like this. Just then, the doppelganger emerged from the shadows at the edge of the clearing. Watching me with a twisted satisfaction, they spoke softly, tauntingly. "See, this is who you really are, lost and broken. You'll never be free of me." "No!" I yelled, standing up defiant. "This isn't who I am anymore." The younger me stirred slightly, opening their eyes just a crack. In that moment, I realized they were more than a memory. They were the part of me that I had abandoned, the part that needed to be acknowledged and healed instead of hidden. "I'm here now," I said more firmly, feeling the power of my words. "I'm ready to make it right." As the doppelganger laughed, the shadows intensified, rushing towards me like a storm. The trees began to sway more violently, and the ground shook beneath my feet. Fear threatened to pull me back, but I pushed against it. "Face it!" the figure shrieked. "You can't escape what you are." But I knew this was my choice. I turned back to the younger version of myself, feeling a surge of determination. I took a step closer, ready to embrace them, ready to face my past instead of running from it. Then, like a bolt of lightning, the world shifted again. The clearing faded, the trees blurring into darkness. I felt myself being pulled back, dragged into the depths of shadow. The doppelganger's laughter echoed, a haunting reminder that I hadn't escaped yet, not by a long shot. And as the void enveloped me, I realized the true battle was about to begin. I gasped as the darkness closed around me, panic surging within. It felt as if I were being swallowed whole by my own doubts, pulled deeper into the endless void where the doppelganger's voice echoed in the recesses of my mind, taunting me. "You can't escape your past," it whispered, a mocking lullaby I couldn't shake. But then I felt it, a glimmer of hope, a flicker of resistance deep inside me. The faces from the shrine swam in my mind, their expressions urging me on. I wasn't just here to be punished. I was here to confront the choices that had chipped away at who I was and reclaim what I had lost. "Enough," I shouted into the void, my voice strong and unyielding. I choose to fight back. With a surge of determination, I envisioned the younger version of myself. Just as I had knelt beside them in the clearing, I called on that innocent spark in me, the person who had faced the world with hope and curiosity before fear took root. I felt a rush of energy, as if I were anchored to something greater than myself, a tether to the life I'd lived and could still reclaim. The shadows began to stir, hesitating. "You think you're strong enough?" The doppelganger sneered. "You'll break just like before." Yet, with every word I spoke to combat the darkness, I remembered the friendships I had treasured, the love I had once freely given, and the dreams that still flickered in my heart. "I won't break again," I declared, forcing my voice to carry through the mists of despair. "What I buried cannot stay buried, and I will face it all. I will not let you define me." The sound of my voice seemed to ripple through the darkness, forming cracks in the very foundation of the shadows. I grounded myself, stretching out my hands and summoning all the memories I had locked away, my laughter, my joys, the lessons learned from pain. As I did, the shadows recoiled, wailing around me like a furious wind. I stepped forward into the chaos, feeling the pressure of the doppelganger push against me, but I held my ground. "You are a part of me," I shouted, "but you do not control me." In that instant, the mist thickened, swirling around as if it were alive. But now I could see through it. I could make out the outlines of the faces from the shrine, shimmering in the tumult as they cheered me on. It felt like power, a community forged in shared experience, guiding me toward the truth. And then, in one sweeping moment, the doppelganger lunged, this time with a strength that felt like a tidal wave. "You will always belong to the darkness," it roared, and the shadows lunged, clawing at my edges. But I was ready. I summoned all the light within me, focusing on that flicker of hope, my heart now ablaze. I can learn. I can grow. I will not let the shadows win. With a final, earth-shattering cry, I unleashed my energy, filling the void with an overwhelming warmth so strong that the shadows began to dissolve in its wake. The ground trembled, and I felt the reality of the situation shift, every pulse of my heartbeat battling against the echoes of the past. I could see the edges of the abyss recede, the dark figure faltering as light broke through their form like a dam bursting. Then, like turning pages in a book, the darkness shattered, and I found myself standing in the clearing again, but this time bathed in golden sunlight. The shrine stood before me, untouched yet transformed. The faces now wore expressions of understanding and compassion, and I sensed approval radiating from them. I was shaken but alive, grounded again in this moment. But as I scanned the sun-drenched landscape, I felt a pull of uncertainty. Had I truly escaped? Or were the shadows lurking just beyond the edges of my consciousness, waiting for their moment to strike again? I didn't have all the answers, but I knew I had taken the first step. I exhaled deeply. The thrill of survival mingled with the echoes of uncertainty. I still thought about it sometimes. The woman, the doppelganger, flashed across my mind with haunting beauty, as did the memories that defined my past. But I moved, stepping out of the clearing and into a new day, forever changed and ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, even if the answers remained clouded in mystery. The battle had shifted, but for now, I was free. I wouldn't forget. I would not run again. Life would continue with questions waiting in the shadows, but I felt stronger now, more resilient than before. I walked away from the shrine, weaving between trees, each step lighter than the last, bracing myself for the journey ahead. After all, the past is never truly gone. It lingers, and in every breath, the choices I made become a tapestry that shapes my path.